Hi, this is Sandra, and in this video I want to show you how to use radio buttons in NetBeans. Firstly, I have a form here, a JFrame form. I have a label on it, and just to show you there that for a label you can change the font to change the font type, font face, and change the size. Foreground will change the color, and I've dragged the label to be the width of the frame, and I've made the horizontal alignment center just to make it look pretty. Now from the palette I'm going to drag on 3 radio buttons. Now I'm going to run the program then. Now mine are 4, 5 and 6 because I've done a little tryout already, so the first 3 would have been RadioButton 1, 2 and 3. Now in Java or in NetBeans certainly, the behavior of radio buttons is that all 3 can be on at once, but that's not generally how radio buttons work. If you do want to have all 3 on at once, you should use checkboxes instead, and their properties are pretty much the same. So anything I'm showing you here for radio buttons is similar then for checkboxes. For radio buttons, there should only be one. You should only be able to turn one on at once. But you have to, for that to work, you have to drag on a button group control. So drag on a button group control and drop it on your form. Now it's invisible. There is a navigator window here on the left hand side, so you can see that the button group is there. So what you need to do is make all 3 buttons part of that group. So highlight all 3 with your mouse, go to the properties window and you'll see a button group property. Drop down there and change that to button group 1. If button group 1 isn't there, you haven't dragged the button group on yet from the swing controls, from the palette. So just make sure that is dragged on first. And now I'm just going to hit run again there. So the behavior when those 3 radio buttons are in a button group is that only one can be basically switched on at once, and that's how they should behave. Now I'm going to change the text on these 3 radio buttons to red, green and blue. So right click and edit text, red, green and blue. And then I'm going to change the variable name as well. So change variable name. My radio buttons I always prefix with or B. You could do that or rad or AD, but I prefer or B. So or be red, or be green, and right click change variable name, or be blue. Now for these to respond instantly, so to find out what value or whatever you want to do with the text on it, you can double click and it'll bring you to the action performed event. So it's the same as if you double click on a button. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add on a text area just so I can pop some text in there as I'm selecting them. So that's a text area. I'm going to right click on that, change variable name, and I call it TXT area. Now I'm going to double click on red and into that text area, so TXT area, I'm going to change the text, TXT area.setText, and this is behind the red, so I'm just going to pop red in there. Now, so red goes into the text area when that is, when I click on the red. I'm going to do the same with green and the same with blue, but just change the text accordingly. And again, back to design, double click on blue and pop in there, text area.setText, and this one will be blue. Now I'm going to run that just to show you there. So red, green and blue, so it's changing the text there. Okay, I could have just used a text field for that. Text area is a little bit big for it, but that's okay. Now, so that's what, if you want something, that's how to get the value or perform an action instantly, is to double click on each one and write code behind the action performed. What I'm going to do then as well, I'm going to pop on a button. So let me see, right click, edit text. I'm going to put the text on this which radio button. Now, and again, change variable name of my button, btn which radio button. Please always try to get into the habit of changing the variable names of all your controls, so that when you're in code, it makes your code easier to read. So double click on the button. Now you can see there, so the action event or the method for capturing this, it's called btn which radio button. So that makes much more sense. Now what I need to do is I need to write code to see which radio button is selected, and the way to do that is an if statement. So if RB. Now I've hit Control Space. They will show them to me in alphabetical order. It doesn't matter which order that you select them in. So if RB blue dot is selected, that will return a boolean, true or false. True if it's selected, false if it's not. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use the text area dot set text. Now I'm going to show you how to concatenate onto that text area. So get the text that's already in the text area dot get text, and then I'm going to do plus, and in double quotes there, a new line, blue was selected, or is selected, whichever. Now, so that just looks at the first one to see if it's selected, but blue might not be selected, the next one might be. So I need an else if statement. Or B, and the next one in the list here in alphabetical order is green, so I'll be writing similar code there. If green is selected, and now I'm going to copy and paste. I put curly brackets in there. You can put curly brackets in if there's only one statement, or you can leave them out. So I'll just be consistent there, so I remove them. And then a final else if, or B, and the last one there is red. And again paste in there, and that will be red. Now the if statement there, I forgot to put a dot is selected. So just on the if statement, inside the round brackets it must equate to a boolean. Right now RB red is a whole J radio button, so that's not a boolean, it's a control itself. So just is selected there. Now I'm using else ifs and not just ifs on their own, because say the first one, if blue is selected, there's no need to go ahead and check to see if the other two are selected, because they won't be. I have them in a button group, only one can be selected. So that's why the else's make your code a little bit more efficient. Now if I run that, now so red, green or blue, so that's the code behind the action event there for each one of those. And I also have code there behind which radio button. So that, the code behind which radio button, that will only execute when I press the button. And then there's an if statement to see which one is selected. So if you want something to happen straight away, that's where you code the action event behind each radio button. But if you don't want something to happen instantly, you can pop it behind a button or somewhere else, a menu or something like that if you want to. So that is a video on radio buttons.